Hi, yes, I know. This is definitely something that everybody expected me of all people to do as a video. Oh my god. Just warning in advance, the gameplay you're going to see in the background is not actually related to what I'm talking about, but given that now at this point I have played Genshin for almost exactly 1 year at this point, I wanted to kind of talk about slash rant slash kind of just discuss, I guess the state of the game in the year 2026. Again, I've only played this game for about a year, so a lot of the opinions I have probably aren't conducive of what the rest of the community thinks, but I figured it might be worth talking about. And this is going to be completely, almost entirely uncut. I'm just going to kind of speak my mind. There's no script, nothing. I'm just going to talk about shit that I think and I feel about the game, if I like it or not, whatever. Right. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that with the upcoming release of Snezhnaya, me being someone who makes videos out of Genshin and also pulling videos, I do not like the fact that Genshin, keep in mind, I like both these games, but I don't like the fact that Genshin is slowly starting to take the route that Honkai Star Rail has been doing for the last 2 years or so, where every single major patch, they introduce a new type of reaction or a new type of meta that you have to shill out for to be able to clear end game stuff and end game modes and be able to actually quote unquote be good at the game and to be able to do what you want to do. I'm not a fan of the fact that people like me who try their best to be free to play are, one, not able to get all the characters you might need for a quote meta team, and two, are not really able to compete, I guess, in a sense, with other people who do shill out for the game, who do spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on characters per month just to be able to get these new meta characters and be able to clear the Spiral Abyss, the Imaginarium Theater, and the Stygian Onslaught without really any problems. Every single patch since 5.4 or 5.0, I think, I've only been playing since 5.0, but I think since 4.0, every single patch, they have been releasing a new type of mechanic for that new region, be it Fontaine, Natlan, Nodcry, and now soon to be Snezhnaya. They introduce a new type of reaction or a new type of elemental reaction for every character that you need to be able to do. Not only that, but also since Natlan, and especially egregiously in Nodcry, these reactions are locked behind 5-star characters that you have to pull for or spend money on to be able to actually do these reactions or be able to actually do this stuff. So, for example, with Natlan, you still had Kachina, Auroron, and Aoife who could still do Night Soul Blessing stuff and could still engage in Night Soul reactions with other characters. Meanwhile, in Nodcry, no single 4-star character is able to enable lunar reactions. You cannot do Lunar Bloom with 4 stars. You cannot do Lunar Charge with 4 stars. You cannot do Lunar Crystallize with 4 stars. The only one I can really think of who might be able to do that is Ilua, and even him, he's not able to enable the reaction. He just supports it. So I'm worried that, of course, leaks have kind of eased worries about this, but I'm worried that for Snezhnaya, just like with Nodcry, they are going to lock all of the new reactions, all of the new stellar Luna reactions, or whatever the hell they're called, behind 5-star characters, which we know Sandrone is already going to be the first one who's going to be doing stellar, cryo stellar, whatever the hell it's called. I don't remember, but she's going to be one of them. And I'm worried. They say they're going to release a couple 4-stars who are going to be able to do these stellar reactions, but I'm worried they're going to lock them behind 5 stars like they did with Nodcry. But shilling out brings me to the next point, and being a free-to-play player brings me to the next point, which is the amount of pulls that they now include in patches for free-to-play players since I started playing the game in June of 2025 has progressively been getting less and less and less. and I've talked to some friends who've been playing with this game for years now as well, and they agree that every single patch they add less stuff for free-to-play players to be able to do to actually get Primo Gems and get pulls. Yes, you have your events every couple weeks that you can do, but even those, the rewards are getting less and less. When I started playing the game, rewards for events would be 50 Primo Gems per completed task. Now they're down to 30. You had the Spiral Abyss, which happened bi-weekly, which you could do twice in a month to get the however many Primo Gems you can get by 36 starring it. Now it's only once per month, and they've moved all those Primo Gems you could get from the Spiral Abyss to the Imaginarium Theater and spread them out further so you can't get as many. And then also with Stygian Onslaught, they've cut down on the amount of Primo Gems you can get as well, where when I started, it would be every single tier from 1 through 5, from easy to dire, was 50 Primo Gems. Now you only get 50 for the first 3, easy through hard, and then dire and whatever the hell else the other one is, you only get a feather. Right? You only get one of those. And then also, this was especially obvious with Dornman Port when it came out from Mondstadt a couple months ago with Linnea coming out. They don't put as much effort into chests for new updates. Now, granted, 6.7 is allegedly going to be a massive patch to prepare us for Snezhnaya. They're going to have the moon, they're going to have the frost moon in there, as well as a bunch of new regions to explore. But if Dornman Port is anything to go off of, that's not going to be much, because Dornman Port, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, had a grand total of 30 chests for an entire region, which was about as big as like a third of Mondstadt, which, if you remember correctly, 1/3 of Mondstadt was like 100 chests when the game first came out. That one region that size in Dornman Port only had about 30 chests, which is only about, I think, maybe like 300 to maybe 1,000 Primo Gems it was. It might be a 10 pull at most that you could get out of that region, not including events. So exploration by that metric is not worth it anymore. And I do hope that for this new lunar patch in 6.7, when they bring in Syndrome, when they end off the Nodcry Archon quest, when they add this new lunar region, that not only do they add more exploration, but more rewards for exploration is what I'm hoping, that we can get back to getting like 80 to 90 pulls per update instead of where it is now, where it's like 50 to 60 or so in free-to-play pulls, including exploration and the quests. That's my hope. And then I think next I could speak on maybe, which has to do with gameplay, which bothers me a lot, because I play Arknight's Enfield, I play Neverness to Everness, and less so. I play Honkai Star Rail. I tried playing Zenless Zone Zero. I've tried Wuthering Waves. I've tried a bunch of different gacha games after starting Genshin Impact. And while I do love Honkai Star Rail, NTE, and Arknight's Enfield, one thing I've started to realize that Genshin does not have, that those games all have, is a resin overflow system of sorts. And Genshin, now being 6 years old at this point, compared to Honkai Star Rail, which was a 3-year-old game, compared to ZZZ, which is a 2-year-old game, compared to Wuthering Waves, which is also a 2-year-old game, NTE, Arknight's Enfield, both being less than like 6 months old, all of them have some sort of resin overflow system. And Genshin Impact, albeit the fan base demanding this since Honkai Star Rail and the ZZZ have come out and kind of normalized this practice, since they've come out and normalized this, Genshin Impact's devs allegedly refuse to add some sort of resin overflow system outside of condensed resin. And condensed resin is not enough. You cannot... It is not feasible for someone with a full-time job, or someone who does not play this game as their only game that they play. It is not feasible to have to log in every single day to spend your resin or turn it into condensed resin, just to be able to not run out of resin, log in like 2 weeks later and not be able to do anything because you only have 200 resin to spend. Whereas in Honkai Star Rail, you could log in after 2 weeks and you have 3,200 resin that you can spend just to do stuff. It's not feasible, it's not fun, and it's not proper for a company like Hoyo, which already has 2 other games that have been released which have resin overflow systems. It does not make sense for a company like Hoyo Do not include a resin overflow system like that for Genshin Impact. That does not that does not make sense. It is not feasible, and it makes the game less fun, which, granted, of course, it's a video game. At the end of the day, who cares? If you play the game, you play the game. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. That is you. But for someone like me who enjoys building characters, who enjoys being able to go into a domain and farm for like 10, maybe 15 runs at a time to try and get that perfect piece that you need to complete your build. For people like me who enjoy doing that, or people like myself and other Genshin streamers and YouTubers who will pull for a character, and then part of the video or the stream is that you go in and you farm for the new artifact that you need for said character, it doesn't make sense to not be able to have a resin overflow system where you can take a break for like a week and just let the resin build up in the background. And then once you come back, you have not only your resin and your condensed resin, you also have your resin overflow, which you can reach into and then use to be able to make these videos where you go into a domain 10 to 15 times and be able to do that. And then some people might say, oh, well, you have the fragile resin you can earn through the battle pass. Great. That is true. But also looking back at Honkai Star Rail also has that same sort of system in the battle pass, and yet they still have a resin overflow. So that doesn't really make sense. That argument isn't really conducive of a proper argument because it doesn't really apply to what is being said. And then also kind of branching off of that as well, other quality of life things I would like to see in Genshin that they don't have yet realistically, that they do have in Honkai Star Rail, is the ability to go back and replay old events that you haven't been able to play yet. This is another thing that Genshin players who also play Honkai have been asking for a long time, myself included, which is the ability to, if you miss an event, either because you're sick or you can't play or you're busy with work or you just don't want to play the game right then and there, which has happened to me, you can't go back and replay the event to be able to get the rewards, get the story, get the lore, get maybe the character that they're offering or the weapon skin that they're offering from that event. You can't go back and get that in afterwards. It's just not possible. And whereas in Honkai Star Rail, yes, you can't get the actual like event exclusive items, you can still go back and play the event in all of its entire scope and still get about 50% of the rewards that you could get while playing the event live. And that is a nice thing you can do for someone like myself. If I'm trying to farm pulls, I can just go back and play an old event I haven't played yet, get about 1,000 stellar jades, 2,000 stellar jades, call it a day. All of a sudden I have 10 to 20 extra pulls that I can do. You can't do that in Genshin without slaving away and either spending money or just slaving away in a region for like 2-3 days at a time that you might not have time for, and being able to farming primo gems that way. That's not possible. And for someone like myself who isn't the biggest fan of exploration in the first place, that's not feasible. It's not fun to do that. And of course, most of my points come down to fun, right? It's a video game. I want to have fun playing the game. And so a lot of the points I'm speaking about come from a viewpoint of I want to have fun playing the game. And I can't have fun playing the game if all of these aspects of other games I enjoy just will not be added to Genshin, or they just don't want to add them for whatever reason. But those are like 4 main points I've thought of. There is more I want to talk about. I just don't know how to properly segue it. Another thing I want to discuss sort of has to do with the Genshin community. And I've started to see this a lot, where the Genshin community as a whole just seems to be very comfortable with being just blatantly homophobic or just blatantly transphobic, just blatantly racist or whatever, in whatever way you want to look at it. There was a lot, and I know Hoyo themselves don't make it very easy. We'll take Natlan as a perfect example for 5.0. Natlan is supposed to be based on Africa. The part of the music for Natlan is in the Swahili language, I think. I don't remember if it's Swahili or Tugulu or whatever, but it's in multiple different African languages. I think it's Swahili. It's based on Africa and Native America, and yet all of the characters are this pasty shade of white, and this is the same for every region except Sumeru. And even in Sumeru, the colored characters, quote unquote, are basically just look like a white person that got a tan, and that's not great. And what it also allows is for a lot of people who might not have very savory beliefs to speak their mind openly and nobody can really judge them because the characters are so pasty white. For example, a lot of people are very comfortable shitting on Natlan and shitting on Natlan's characters as a whole just because of the culture and just because of what the region is based on, just because of the characters. And I've seen a lot of people who either go at one of two angles. Either they go after Natlan, calling it stupid and not fun because the characters are too white, which I can understand, but it's not really relevant. And they shit on it because the cultural representation is not really as good. But you also have the other side, which I'm trying to talk about, which is where this other sect of Genshin players use Natlan as an example of why Genshin, quote unquote, can't have diversity and shouldn't have cultural representation as much as it should. But if you base your game off of these regions in the world that have different colors of people, they have different belief systems, they have different cultures, you can't make every character be based on European ideals and European colors. And I know part of this is because of Chinese law and in laws in China where certain aspects of characters and character design in video games are restricted and limited to what either the law says or what Chinese culture says. And I understand that. I know part of it is because of that, but it's allowing very unsavory folks to have a say in the community and for the game, which sways some people and sways the devs in a way that might not be the best direction. Let me put it that way. Also, you have the homophobia where a lot of people just treat shipping as this holier than thou attitude. And if you don't agree with their ship, then you're wrong and you get ostracized, right? There's a lot of drama constantly about that where people either have a Yuri ship or a Yaoi ship that they like, and then they get ostracized because they like those ships because other people ship them with the person with somebody else. Or you have straight ships which people don't like, and then you get ostracized for having those ships. It's a ship. It's not that deep, right? You don't need to be so defensive over someone shipping a character you like with somebody else. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. That was just a quick side tangent I wanted to get on. Because I'm trying to collect my thoughts because I'm recording this live as I'm playing a game. And there's a lot of things I want to say that I just don't have the words for. To end it off, I guess, overall, the state of the game is fine. I enjoy playing the game. I'm going to keep playing the game, and I think the game is fun. But there's multiple things about the game. Oh, that reminds me, one other thing. Character designs. It's very apparent that Hoyo, especially recently, has been trying to lean into character designs which appeal to a specific demographic of player. And it makes some people who play the game uncomfortable or not wanting to play the game because there's either not very much representation for those people, or it's just very overtly sexist in a way, the way that these characters are designed. For example, Columbina as a great example, or Sandrone too, because this video is coming out before Sandrone comes out. We can talk about Sandrone too. Sandrone's character design was brilliant in the Archon quest. Her character design overall was great. And yet when she's becoming a playable character, Hoyo has made the decision to not only there is proof of this, by the way, go check this out on Twitter if you need to. Hoyo not only made the decision to make her skirt shorter for whatever reason, they've also turned Polonia from a big bulky robot that can fire lasers into this slender I guess, quote unquote, feminine looking robot in a sense. And they've made Sandrone's skirt shorter. They've made her blouse a little bit more flared out and shorter in some aspects so you can see more things. Not only that, but they've also made the model for her chest bigger. Why? What's the point of it, right? They made her pupils bigger as well. And it doesn't make sense why they would do that unless they're catering to a certain demographic of player who only plays the game for, I guess, I can't really say words on YouTube without getting filtered. For Gunnar purposes, I hate that word. I hate saying that. But whatever. For Gunnar purposes, right? And Hoyo's gotten under a lot of flack recently for this, anyways, because of games like Honkai Star Rail or ZZZ, where especially in ZZZ they made a couple character designs recently that are supposed to be child or child adjacent, which are very skimpily clad, right? To put it in a certain way. And Genshin suffers from this too. And while some Genshin character designs are still good, I would like to argue that Yehoda's design is quite good. I would like to argue that, so I can't really argue anything. I would argue that Flint's design in Nodcry is quite good. I would argue that Sibai's and Ilua's designs were quite good. But a lot of, especially the female characters, are extremely sexualized. They aren't very well designed in that aspect. And while they do look good, they don't look proper. And it's getting to be a point where it's very annoying in some aspects, even to myself. And I have a high tolerance for that kind of thing, but it's annoying to even myself. And I can understand why some players are uncomfortable playing the game at this point and pulling for characters because they just make them look like Gunners for it, right? And that's a big problem. And I'm hoping that for Snezhnaya, they might fix this a little bit and might make the characters actually, first of all, dress for the region that they're part of, but also dress more, make the character designs be more appropriate, I guess, in a sense. But those are the main points for me. I would like to have better Primogem distribution for free-to-play players. I would like to have a resin overflow at some point. I would like to have, what else did I say? I said a lot of things. I would like to have better exploration with more rewards. And I would also like for character designs to be more appropriate. The other side tangent I went on doesn't really matter, but those are like the main points of what I was trying to say, is that we need a resin overflow system in 2026 or 2027 at some point, just as a quality of life thing. We need a resin overflow system in Genshin Impact. We also need more rewards for exploration, more exploration in general. We need better reward distribution for end game modes, more rewards in a sense, and better event rewards, I guess, with more Primogems as rewards for free to play players. An event replay system where you can go back and replay events. And then we also need just like overall a better system for resin overflow management, and also just better character designs. Those are my personal opinions, of course. If you have any disagreements or you want to engage in the conversation in the comments, do let me know. But those are my thoughts on the matter. That's what I think about the whole debacle. I still enjoy playing Genshin Impact. I'm going to keep playing it in the future and in the current day. I do hope some of these changes get made. Am I optimistic? Not really. Genshin has made it a very big thing for themselves, especially recently. They don't really listen to player feedback very much. I do hope that they do so more often, but we'll see what happens. The state of the game in 2026 is fine. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. So I hope you enjoyed my little rant. If not, that's fine. Let me know what you think in the comments. And let me know your opinions, what you want for the game as well, and what you think should be changed. And either way, I'll see you in the next video. And if not, that's fine as well. But anyways, goodbye.